tutorial, I'm going to show you how to produce techno in the style of Amelie and Charlotte de Witte. Over the past few years, the most popular videos I've ever made are the ones where I show people how to produce in the style of a particular artist. Now, what's the point doing that? You don't want to sound like someone else. Well, it's the best and fastest way to learn loads of different production techniques that you can then use in your own music. We are going to go into sound selection and sound design. We're going to create a techno rumble bass. We're going to create our own 303 acid line from scratch. And we're going to be going into some mixing and arrangement too. I'm using Ableton Live 12 for this, but you can follow along in any DAW, and you can do this using just the stock plugins you already own. You can download this project file completely free using the link below this video, and without further ado, let's hop into the door and get it done. No cap. First thing we need is a kick. I'm going to use a big fat techno kick. You can get a techno kick from anywhere, pretty much, Splice, whatever, my personal sample pack, or you could just download this project and then you got it. Lovely. Next thing I want to do is set that to be peaking at -12, because I want to avoid any clipping on the master channel, and when everything's too loud, you're going to end up with distortion, and you don't want that. Let's color that green, the natural color of drums, and then we're going to put this to a really fast tempo, 148 BPM, some nice techno tempo. Ooh. Okay, next thing we want to do is create a techno rumble bass. Now, you could add the effects to the kick itself, but I think you get more control if you create a separate channel. So I'm going to create a separate channel and call that rumble. And then what I'm going to do is feed that kick through to the channel, and then we are going to add some effects to create that techno rumble. So I'll take the input from kick like so. We will put the input there. And now if we turn that off, we can hear it's just doubled up at the moment. So let's get some effects on there and create that rumble. Well, first thing we need in the chain is some delay, so we can prolong that kick happening. So it's going to sound a bit like this. We'll put it to 100% wet because we just want that to be the delay. And we can already hear we're getting that kind of galloping effect. But it doesn't sound like a rumble, it just sounds like a delayed kick. So next thing we need is a nice distortion. Let's get the amp on there. I really like this because it's really super growly. Now we're talking. That's like really aggressive and industrial. Next thing we want to do is get some of that high frequencies out because we want it to sound more like a rumble. So we're going to take the high frequencies out just with an EQ8. So now we're getting that kind of rumble effect. And now we can adjust the tempo of the rumble independently from the kick. And that's why I really like to have them on separate channels. But not only that, once I've colored this yellow, which is the natural color of bass in the wild, I'm going to group these two channels together. And we're just going to call this kick and bass, like so, or kick equals bass today. Nice. And then what we're going to do is to stop these fighting with each other, we want to find out what the fundamental frequency of this kick is. And the fundamental frequency is basically the main frequency that it hits. So I'm going to put an EQ on 8 on there. I'm going to open it up. You can do this in Pro Q3 as well. And if we hit it, we can see this is the frequency. That is really the main frequency. And in this synth, or in this EQ, you can actually roll over, and if you look down here, you can see it tells us which note this is. So it's kind of telling us it's a G. So we can actually write the track in G, and it's all going to sound in tune. But before that, we'll get to that in a minute, we want to take out some of that rumble. We're going to take out a little bit just at that frequency because we don't want the kick fighting with that rumble. So we can choose a notch filter like so. Let's just put it to G. What was G? Let's see which frequency it told us it was. So the G is about 50 Hertz. So we can go back to our kick. We can go back to our rumble, choose 50 Hertz like so, boom. And then we're just going to take it down a little bit, and that's going to allow our kick to just breathe through a bit so they won't fight. Not too much, just a little bit. So we're ducking that frequency. Next thing we want to do is duck the whole of the rumble. I know that sounds a bit weird. I want to do that using the auto pan because I want to show you how to do all this just using the Ableton plugins. So instead of using a usual auto pan, which is going to make it go left and right like this, so this is how it usually works. We can hear it bouncing left and right. I'm going to put the phase all in sync, and what this is going to do is actually duck the volume. But we want to duck it in time with the kick, so I'm going to choose this shape. I'm going to hit invert, so that's going to be silent, and then it goes up to full volume, and then we want to time this with the kick, so I'll change it to have it in sync like so. And this is going to work like Shaper Box or LFO Tool, but it's free. So now it's allowing the kick to pop through even more. Nice. Next thing we want to do is get this really rumbling. So I'm going to process them together with a drum bass, which is just going to add a little bit of saturation. Add some crunch. And I'm just going to blend out this delay a little bit with a reverb, just to soften it down and make it even more of a rumble. So let's put that on there. Just going to get rid of some of those transients. Nice. Ooh, we best name this bad boy. Okay, Amelie lens. What should we call it? The lens is the Amelie, and the Amelie is the lens. Mind blown. Let's just call this Ameliorate the rumble bass. Nice. It's named that, we can't unname it, so let's push on. Next thing we want to do is create an interesting atmosphere in the background. That's going to be really important with techno, to just keep the interest, the ear candy. So let's just... I'm going to go for that chanting that I recorded at some point in the past. Where was that? Christchurch in New Zealand. So let's have a listen. Cool. Ooh, hello. He got excited, didn't he? He's a very happy Buddhist. Right, let's just record that and or loop it and put it underneath our drums. Let's have a listen. That's kind of cool rhythm already. And I'm going to blur it back with a bit of reverb. Not too much, because we don't want it to get messy in the mix. So it's almost just textural rather than something that's going to be heard a lot of the time. Okay, next thing we want to do is create the drums. So we need to get some standard 909 hat sounds. That's cool. Let's use that. I'm going to put that on a 16th hat. And because it's techno, we don't really need a clap, but for this style of techno, we will actually add one, or a snare. But let's put these 16ths in first. So every 16th, and that really means that the bar has been split into 16 equal sections, and that's going to create this kind of sound. But to add some more interest, I'm just going to make some of them a bit more quieter by reducing the, by reducing the velocity, and it's just going to add more movement to the track. So they're ducking in volume slightly. And I'm going to add a little bit of room reverb. And all I mean by room reverb is a short reverb with a short decay. And I'm going to feed a little bit into our drum machine. So I've opened up these. If you right click and press create return chain, you can then choose one of your auxiliary channels from the drop down. So that's all I've done. I've selected the room reverb. I can then close that up, hit that button again. And now I can feed it out to that reverb channel. It's really subtle. Next thing we want to do is get the open hat in there. So let's get a 909 open hat. And then we're going to get onto the 303 sound, which all of you are going to know. You'll all recognize it for that techno 303 goodness. Let's just put a hat on every other, in between each kick, like so. And what I like to do is have the sustain set to full, but the release set to 0. And that means whenever this MIDI note ends, it just completely cuts the hat off straight away. Let's put a bit of room reverb. Get it all gelling together. Nice. Let's change the rumble a little bit. Turn it down. And add a little bit more high end to come through. That's sounding pretty cool. Okay, let's create that 303 based on the TB303 synth, which is a classic synth that really started house music and techno in the 80s. It was designed as a bassline synth, but it's really good for creating acid lines. Now, there are different third-party plugins that you can use to create a really good version, but I'm going to do my best job with just the Ableton stock plugins. So we decided that we were working in G because we looked at that fundamental frequency, so let's get it done. Sounds amazing, Will. Well done. And what we can do is we can select our scale. So we go to G minor. It's got to be minor. It's techno, right? Then we can hit the scale button. And this template means that we're never going to hit a wrong note. So I'm going to use a lot of the root note, which is G. Cool. Now we have to make that sound not completely rubbish. Obviously, we're about to do that. First thing I'm going to do is make it monophonic by changing the voicing. So there's only ever one note playing at a time. And now let's shape it. So we want to get the amplitude in a bit more of a plucky shape. Take the sustain down and the decay. Oh, I'm already liking this. Now we want to add the filter. So we're going to add a filter envelope as well and take down the frequency cutoff. Add some resonance. Okay, so it's sounding a bit more 303 now. You should be recognizing that. But next thing I want to do is add some distortion on it because that's going to give it that real filth and drive. Ooh, hello. Hello, sir. You filthy little bugger. Okay, next thing I want to do for that is stick another delay on there, ping pong delay. And there we go. Nice. Ooh, let's turn that up. Okay, next thing, where's my magic list? There we go. We are going to create something very special. We are going to create a reece bass. Now, we've got a couple of basses because, as I said at the beginning, it's kind of like a techno / trance mix. So I'm going to create a reece bass, which is just a prolonged modulated bass. Would be something you might do for Christmas dinner. I look forward to being invited to your house because I absolutely love roast dinner. You can invite me in the comments below or something. Okay, right. To make a reece bass, what should we use for this? Let's use wavetable. Okay, so I'm going to go wavetable, and we are going to first program in just the root note, which is the G. Let's do that. So we're going to program that in, and we're just going to loop it to get the sound right, and then we'll work out all the other gubbins afterwards. So let's just loop that. We need a saw wave. Oh! So once we got the saw wave, let us first turn it to monophonic because we don't want the bass notes fighting with each other. Then we're going to add some unison, which is going to add the modulation. Oh, let's just filter down the high frequencies. I'm going to choose a different filter type actually to add some drive. Just to add some character. That's kind of cool. Okay, next thing I want to do is just allow this to open up a bit. So I'm going to first set the amplitude to be completely like solid. Then what we're going to do is have a second envelope, and that's going to open up the filter. So we'll go to this matrix here. We'll assign that second envelope to the frequency cutoff. So we get that gnarly. Then I'm going to add a second oscillator. I think we'll see if it works. And then I'll add, oh, I could add it there actually. No, we'll add a second oscillator. We're going to create another saw wave, but just put it down an octave to add some more grunge and just feed a little bit of that in with the volume. Ooh. Oh, Now, the real trick here is we don't want that fighting with our rumble bass. So I'm going to take out the low end. So it's really just a mid bass. So it sounds a bit weak now, but with the rumble, it's still going to sound really fat. Just having fun now. Okay, next thing we want to do is draw in a chord progression for that kind of reece bass. We'll get some vocals in a minute as well. So once again, we're going to go to G minor. We need to keep the track entirely in the same key. If you try and have several keys playing at once, it's not going to sound good. It's not going to end well. That sounds pretty cool. Room reverb. Actually, I'm going to add some more reverb to that bass, but just the top end, because we don't want lots of reverb in the low end. It's going to get too washed out. So I've created a second auxiliary channel, just put a slightly longer reverb with a longer decay on it. So let's feed some of the bass out to that. Nice. Okay, next thing we want to do is create more rhythm and interest by using another synth. So I'm just going to create a sonar beep, and then we're going to get into the vocal section. And then there's the really cool trance riff that I'm going to show you as well. So for this sonar beep, I'm going to use another wavetable, and it's just going to hit the root note every bar, really. And this is going to add the groove. So you can't really hear it at the moment, but you will do in a second. Let's do 2 octaves, actually. Now, it sounds a bit rubbish, so let's choose a different wave. One of them will have a square wave, and the other one, I think, will have a triangle wave. And now let's make it into a sonar shape. So how does sonars kind of go boom, like boom. So we know we need to add a little bit of release. I think it's happening too often. Let's do it half as frequently. Otherwise, you can use too much of a good thing, right? And now let's add some long reverb to it. Let's put that up an octave as well, I think. No, let's put the other one up an octave. That's more like a sonar, right? Okay, we really need to get this absolutely jamming. So what we're going to do is I think we're going to add a drum loop. Now we could create this from scratch, but it's nice to bring in a loop sometimes because it can just add another layer of texture rather than programming all with separate drums. So I'd probably just go to Splice or somewhere like this, but I just want a top loop really, with some 16ths going da 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 da. Oh, that's really noisy. Noise is good for techno. It's going to sound a bit weird. That's cool. Listen to that. I know it's a bit bongo-y, but that's okay. We're going to take out some of the low end. And again, it's just a subtle layer in there. We're going to grunge it up like an absolute grungeaholic. Get some overdrive on there. Oh, absolute filth bags. So what we're going to do is take the same effect that we used for our rumble bass, which is in here, and that is going to be the kind of ducking effect with this. Where is it? Rumble. Oh, whoops, I opened the wrong thing. Here we go, rumble bass. So we're going to take this kind of impromptu sidechain compressor we made with the auto pan, and we're going to put that on our drum loop as well. So it's not fighting with a kick. Oh, that's absolute filth. Okay, I know what this needs. I'm just completely going off piste here. We need some real high-end sizzle in that. So what I'm going to do is get a ride cymbal. Again, a classic sound for techno and house. And let's put it over to the left a bit. Add some room reverb. Just going to kind of gel it all together a bit with the other sounds. And now let's put in a little syncopated rhythm. And now we can just repeat that, and it's going to sound amazing if you repeat it properly. See, I almost repeated it improperly, and then it would have been one of the worst things you'd ever hear. But now it's properly, it's one of the best things you'll ever hear. You might not know that at the moment, but later on in life you'll look back and you'll think, you know what, Will was right. That was one of the best things I've ever heard. But it's okay, I forgive you. Okay, let's bring in the 303. Oh, okay, right, okay. We need to get to the next part of this. I think I might use... What shall I use to find the vocal? I think I'll just find a vocal in my toolkit first, in my own personal one, but I want that chord progression. So we've got that chord progression, and now I want that kind of synth riff that we talked about, and then we'll get to the vocals. So we've got this chord progression, just a simple progression, 3 notes, right? They're the bass notes of the chords. So what I'm going to do to create this trance riff, I was going to use Serum, but as I said, I want to create everything in Ableton. So this is going to be a bit of a trial and error, but time is of the essence, so I'm going to have to speed up. So let's call this trance riff and stop mucking about. Well, stop messing about, boy. Get that trance riff done. So we're going to put it in there. And I think we're going to use Wavetable again. That's going to give us some good options. So let's work out what those notes would be. We're just going to copy the bass notes from our bass line, put them in our synth, and they are going to be the bass notes of each chord. Now, when you're in scale mode, it's easy to make chords. You can just skip a note each time like this. So now we've got triad, triad, triad. It's a couple of octaves too low. So now we've got this effect. I'm going to add the 7th interval to each chord. I added the octave there. Actually, we don't want 7ths because it's techno. We want it to sound a bit minor still. We want it to be a bit darker, this track. So what we can do now is create chord inversions where I'm just putting some of the notes an octave below, and that brings everything closer together on the keyboard. I might put this one back up. And it makes everything sound a bit smoother and a bit more professional. But now we can create that riff that I was talking about. Again, it's going to be on the 16ths. So we've got 16th mode selected on our grid. And you can see, you could use an arpeggiator for this actually. Yeah, let's do that. That's something I haven't done for a while. So let's put an arpeggiator on this. I'm going to change it to monophonic because we only want one note playing at a time for this trance riff. Then I'm going to go to, I need to speed up, Will, arpeggiator, put that in front. Choose 16ths as the rate. And play with some of these settings. And now let's start tweaking the sound. Get it plucky. Filter envelope to that too, like so. That would be on the matrix, just like we did with the reece bass. But I'm also going to assign this to the wavetable position, which is going to create even more movement. Go and tweak the envelope shape. Change the filter type. Add some unison. I think this needs to be a bit more aggressive, so let's choose the saw wave. Okay, sounding pretty cool. Next thing I want to do is add a little bit of distortion to this, or saturation, to keep it a bit chunkier. And I'm going to add in a few more notes as well. Maybe I will try the 7th. In fact, I think if we just hold it on one note, it's going to sound more trancey. It's going to sound more techno-y. Oh, that's cool. Ooh, hello. How does that sound? I'm going to just crazy this up. I don't know what's happening, but I'm loving it. So let's put echo on there. We need some noise on this as well. The way I'm going to do that, really quickly, I'm just going to add a second layer there. So I'm going to group that instrument and then create a second wavetable. Well, actually, I'm going to create a chain and then I'm going to put analog on there, like so. No, I'll put an operator on there and just choose white noise as the oscillator. And this is just going to add some extra sizzle to the top end. We need to get the envelope shape right as well. So we can hear. Oh, nice. Let's add some reverb. Ah, yes. Turn the filter down. Okay, right, we need to get those vocals in there. Firstly, let's get someone, a little short, sharp vocal. Again, from wherever. Let's see. Nice. Okay, a bit cheesy. She's enjoying herself. Oh, she's really enjoying herself. All right, well, calm down. We'll just have something a bit less intense. For now, at least. Come and talk to me afterwards. Okay, that'll do. Right, we're gonna make some small rhythm with that, all right? And this is just to add more interest to the backing melody. And we're gonna just have it happen at the beginning of the bar, okay? So this is just to add some sex to a track because, you know, why not? Let's put another delay on there because that's what you do with sex. Put delays on there. This is, I'm not liking the direction that this is going in, so we're just going to leave it as is. That will do for now. Put some feedback on there. Again, it's going to be really subtle in the mix like this. Oh, yes. So now what I want to do is get a vocal on there, not just this little vocal, but an actual, you know, full top line. Again, for Amelie style, we want that vocal element to it. Water. You gotta love it. Today's video is sponsored by Water. Now what we're gonna do is put female vocals. We know we're writing in G minor, so I'm gonna choose key G minor, like so. Female vocals. We want something quite floaty to kind of contrast the aggressiveness of the trance. I don't know how long I've been going on now, but I'm in the zone. So let's just loop it and listen for something that sounds good over the top. Instant yes. I'm having you. Get in there. So we need to make sure it's warped. All right, calm down. Already said we'll put you in there. Right, so we've got 123 BPM warped. That's correct. And we're going to choose Complex Pro. It's just the smoothest algorithm to warp vocals at. And now we can add this vocals over the top. It's all getting a bit loud. Okay, last thing I want to show you with the vocals is a really cool kind of trancey and techno-y effect. Again, it's going to be a bit like something that you can do with third-party plugins, but because I'm feeling kind, I want to show you just using the Ableton plugins. Again, it's using the auto pan in a similar way that we had before, but at the beginning of this drop, for instance, we can leave the trance riff for now. I want to add something a bit more interesting to those vocals. So what I'm going to do is loop a little bit of it like so, and that's just prolonging that vocal a bit. And let's blend them in with the clip blends like so. And it's going to sound like she's just holding that last note a bit longer, which is more than I can say for the other girl in this track, you know. So here we go. So we're just having her prolong that loop. Okay, but this is the thing I wanted to show you. Again, we're going to set the phase to be completely in sync. I'm going to make the shape a bit more square like that. I'm going to choose the rates to be, I think, eighths. There we go. Like that. So it's kind of like a transforming effect. If you're familiar with DJ mixes, you're just kind of putting the volume up and down really quickly. But it's not working exactly right. So I'm going to offset that slightly. So then it should work perfectly. So we can just use this amount to create that stuttering effect, which I think is really cool anyway. So let's just put that in. And I'll show you one more thing we can do that. What I want to do is also automate that rate. Okay, we're going to have to arrange this in a second. Let's do that. We're going to get to the arrangement and mix it slightly as well. Then I'm going to change this rate to 16ths. So check this out. I think just for the last bit of it. That's it. I think that sounds really cool. Okay, let's get this arrangement. So I'm going to bring everything over out the way, and we're going to think about starting this track and building it into something. Now with techno, all of the interest really comes from the automation and the reducing what's playing at certain points of the track. So basically deleting things and bringing them in. We don't have loads of big sweeps and crashes so much as in trance, because it can kind of make it sound a bit cheesy and less techno-y. So first I'm just going to duplicate that loop, take out that bass first, and this is what we've got. Let's kind of mix as we go. Like, that's too loud. old man of the techno. That's too loud to start with. It's absolutely not loud enough for later. That is absolute filth. Right, with those drums, I think this is going to work really well. I'm going to filter in those drums, right? That drum loop. So we're going to go to EQ and filters. I'm going to get an auto filter on there, and we're going to just start off lower down. And let's take out some of these drums too. We'll take out the ride. We want to be able to build into the more intense part of the tracks. It's all about telling a story across the production, which actually brings me to this conclusion. We should also take out the low end for the beginning. Let's just get this arrangement in. Try and actually drop it in the right place, Will. I know you can do it. So we're starting off like this. Okay. Oh, yes. And now let's bring the filter up on those other drums. I'd even hold back on the... So what I'm going to do is hold back on that ride cymbal coming in as well. So we've got the kick coming in there, we've got the ride coming in there. We're not actually using that sidechain trigger, so we can get rid of that. Keep things a bit less confusing. And I'm going to just do the rest of this as we go along, okay? So this is going to be a bit of a crazy session of arrangement, but I don't care, I'm feeling crazy, you know? Absolutely loco, Chico. No, calm down, 303. There's one more thing I'm going to add into this because I really think it needs it. It needs one more techno chord underneath that is going to pull everything together and just add the depth it needs. And then we're going to finish this arrangement. Okay, the timer is on. I'm going to get another synth to do this. And again, it's just nailing in the key of the track straight away. A lot of techno's atonal, but there is usually some kind of key in there somewhere. It's rare for a track not to have any key. Okay? So let's just create a little stab that happens. So just that little chord. I think just playing it like that, okay? But I'm going to fade that back with a little bit of reverb, much like the Sonar Beep. Listen to the difference that makes. Yes. Okay, let's produce. Bring those filters up. Let's just have that first one, and it's going to be like a real moment. Oh. Yes, that's a moment. Yes. Okay. So it's just like a moment. You can bring the filter on that down first.
Stuck in that same old place, trying to make some sense, I don't know, lost control. Stuck in that same old place.
Oh yes.
Trying to make some sense.
And then for this bit, we're just gonna go back to that stutter bit, and we're gonna hold that root note of the bass line whilst this builds up. Okay. So let's get that automated, and then we'll get to the final thing and play it all at once. We need to automate that frequency. Okay, automate. And we're going to automate that resonance as well to make it really crazy.
Trying to make some sense. I don't know.
Take the volume of the bass down. And then, whoa, then we go back to the drop with the 303. So let's pull that in as well. Okay, and you can download this project file below the video. So let's bring all that back in and make it absolutely massive. So we'll bring that back down. And then that keeps on building up. Bring the vocal back in. Now you have to sing at the right time, I'm afraid. Which means, let's just get it set to the right place. Where does it start? There. And then... We need to bring back the volume of the reece bass as well. So let's get back to the -13. So then we're going from this to this. Okay, I'm going to do a bit more work on this, then you can download the project file completely free and see how it turned out. A bit more tuneful than being in Canning Town at 5 in the morning in a warehouse. But we could get that filthy in a minute.
I don't know. When did we lose control? I don't know. When did we
this is a real
lose
teaser bit.
control? When did we lose control? Stuck in the same old
And this is a bit more of that Amelie lens vibe. We're bringing that trance feel. Oh, absolute tune. Oh, I love this combination. The filth and the tunefulness. So clattering. And then we're getting to the main payoff, which is the drop, but with the chord changes. I enjoyed that very much. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like, share it, all of that good stuff. You can check out our coaching below this video. And in the meantime, check out that video that's also going to show you how to make techno, because it's really good and it's got loads of views, even if it is a bit older. So thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time. Cheers and happy producing.